What's up, party people? It's your boy Optimus Code. Welcome to the channel. So today we got another really good one for y'all. It's part 1 in our new series on sound design in video games. I'll be interviewing a good developer friend of mine, AAA developer Larry Gates II. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you will know so much more about sound and how it's handled in video games. So I have with me today a good friend of mine, my buddy, Larry Gates II. Larry, what is your official title? To me, you just the music man. Like, what is your official title?
My official title for my day job is Audio Designer 3 for Volition, Deep Silver Volition video games.
Okay, what's the 3 for? What is the significance of the 3?
It's our levels. So the next promotion that I will get will put me in the senior range, and then eventually you can become a principal at your discipline. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, congratulations, sir. So, so go ahead and introduce yourself. That was my little crummy introduction. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us, what you've done, some of the games you've worked on, your favorite stuff.
Right on. There was nothing wrong with that introduction, by the way. Optimus Code, by the way. Larry Gates II, work for Volition and working on my 4th title for them. I came in with Saints Row 4 was in development. It was Saints Row the 3rd had a DLC pack that was rolling into a full game, and that's right where I hit the doors. And that was my first title with them. Saints Row 4. Then Saints Row Gat Out of Hell was a mini game we produced with a Chicago company called High Voltage, and I did some audio support for Homefront: The Revolution, made by Dam Busters over in the UK, and then I worked on Agents of Mayhem for Volition, and now we're in development on an unannounced title.
Sure.
Those are the
I'm sure you can't talk about.
Right. We're completely locked down. Hopefully an announcement coming soon. It's no secret that we're working on our flagship franchise, but no details have emerged. So, but there's also, that's all the AAA work, but I've also done some arcade games and VR. And there was this mobile game called Ratchet or Nah that I worked on that I'm still looking for.
Man. Good one. Actually, I'll give you an update about that after we're done with this call, man.
Please do.
Yeah, I still got all this, man. Fantastic work, sir. So I know that your work is excellent. Like, I've seen it firsthand. I'm sure many of us have played those games that you mentioned. So, basically, what is it like? What are the responsibilities of your job? What does it mean to be a sound designer?
Right. So that answer is going to differ with not only each individual, but from studio to studio. Okay. As I've been in the industry about 8.5 years now, what I'm figuring out is that a lot of studios want audio programmers, and it's a luxury to have audio designers on your team. And even when you have audio designers, some of the work ends up being outsourced, depending on the breadth of your game. There's a lot of work to be done there. So me as an audio designer 3, that would mean different things to different studios. But for me, I was asked to come to Volition to handle voice in particular. Okay. The guy who was handling it before was just overwhelmed with it, and they wanted to record temp voice for the missions, get just people around the office to read all the lines so that you could actually have a WAV file and get it hooked up in the mission and test it out. A lot of people use text to speech for that. Text to speech is real robotic and doesn't help with any, in the humor, timing, none of the jokes land with text to speech unless they're unintentional. So they wanted someone to come in and record the temp voice and then shovel all the final voice. And for open world games like Saints Row, the first game I worked on had, I think, 65,000 individual WAV files of just voice. Lord. A massive amount.
Well, that didn't include sound effects?
No, that's only voice lines there. It's massive footprint on an open world video game like that. Mario just has some, gleeful giggles and whatever and woohoos. You might have a couple hundred Mario, maybe even a couple thousand, but 65,000. I kind of came in as this voice specialist and kind of carved out my area. And so now I'm directing all of the voice sessions, which typically doesn't happen from an audio designer, but I'm so ingrained in narrative from the table reads of the first scripts to working with a robot voice, to working with temporary voice, to casting, to the recording sessions, to the implementation of those files, and even post-production. If you're a robot or an alien and I need to mangle your voice with a bunch of cool plugins, I'll do that. So I touch every part of the process. Okay. But like I said, you're not going to go to another studio and find an audio designer who has the same responsibilities.
So you're saying they need to put some respect on your name.
Absolutely. I really did I kind of got there and thought how I could grow the role and improve the pipeline and the transparency and the communication. And I've done so. And so I don't think anybody expected it. I was hired on a temp contract. They were only going to bring me in for 9 months to shovel that voice. And the audio director who hired me, a guy named Ariel Gross, gave me great advice. He said, if you come in, I can offer you this 9 months, but if you make it to where we can't live without you, then I can get you a job. And so I just busted ass and really went for it and carved that out. And the other area I have a lot to do with is music, both as kind of the in-house composer when it's needed. I work with outside composers and kind of direct them on what we're after. I work with a licensing broker who will work the deals when we want a Kanye song in our game. They're going to work the deal with the publishing rights on that. And so very much plugged into the voice and music. All
right. So you said two things now that is not in the list of questions that I was going to ask you. So the first one is first script. What does that mean? How is that process? Like the writers, I'm assuming, come up with some scripts, then you guys sort of know the mood that the voice actor should have.
Right.
And then, like, is there a second and a third script? Like, what does that mean, first script?
Yeah. When I came to Volition, one of the things that was not commonplace that I could not believe were table reads. I think when you're writing anything, a play, a film, a video game, that sitting down in a room full of people and reading those words aloud and kind of seeing them for the first time and reading them cold, maybe disassociated with the writing process, will help inform everybody. Yeah. Is this the right tone, mood? Are these jokes landing? Is this confusing when I see it on the page for the first time? And so that's something Volition didn't do, and I fought very hard to get started there, and it really improved the process. So it really is the first ideas, not just writers coming up with something, but writers working in concert with designers. So we need a mission, and it's going to take place here, and you're going to go from this side of the map to this side of the map, and you got to get this, vehicle, and you've got to accomplish X, Y, and Z. So that is design first, and then writing comes in to support that. Okay, we're going to get our folks from this side of the map to that side of the map, and we're going to tell jokes here, and we're going to reveal something here, And so it's the first time they're trying something, and it's usually folks from the narrative team, writers, myself, narrative director, designers, and sometimes design directors will sit down in that initial read just to see how it goes. And then there's feedback and there's iteration, and that can happen 3, 4, 5 times before we ever get to the robot voice or the temporary voice. So you try to iron that out as best you can, so you're not just chasing your tail and throwing things at the wall, which is what you would do without any sort of visibility.
Man, that is so cool. So that's an intricate process then. Like,
yeah.
And I'm assuming there's like rework, like, okay, that didn't really land the way we wanted.
Exactly.
Do we rewrite it, or do we think, okay, well, the actor or the actress will be able to pull it off? Like, how does that work?
No, and sometimes you find out, sometimes you take a chance on something, but no, the iteration process is continual. From the first time that a mission is drafted until even after we record it and actually hear the final thing, and we change our mind, all of that informs you along the way, but you really don't know until the thing's put together. You could dream about your kitchen remodeling, but until you tear out the counters and put everything there and open the fridge up against the cabinet for the first time and go, crap, we didn't think about that. That's what happens as well in voice, and different actors are going to approach those lines differently, and And sometimes we really hold their hand for a certain intent. And sometimes we let them make it their own and see where we take it. But there's always iteration. I mean, up until the point we have to close the door and say, it's off now, you can't touch it any longer. You know, we're really toying with those, with the narrative.
Yeah, because it seems like there would always be like one more thing. My brother was really big. He owned a recording studio in a prior life, and we would get up and coming artists to come down. And so they would do these remixes, Larry. And there would be like 10 remixes, and like each person thought their remix was better than the other person's.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you know when it's done? Because they just kept changing it. Even when I thought it was great, I would come back in the next day and they had changed it. Like, how do you know when it's done? How do you decide it's time to stop?
Right. That falls on, you know, ultimately there are 4 people at the studio who can have that final say. You have a narrative director, then you have a creative director, and then you have a chief creative officer, and then you have an executive producer. And that is just within that studio structure, because then you have publishers and the larger umbrellas that we are under, and those sorts of conglomerates. But internally, you know, but even down the chain, you've got a writer, and you've got a lead writer, and you've got a principal writer. And then you start all those directors. And so it's kind of when everybody up and down that chain is in agreement. That's when it's done. Is that, you know, and maybe still people want to pull it this way or that, but we kind of come to a consensus that, okay, this is working and it's good. But there's constant feedback coming from every direction. I mean, not just people directly involved with the narrative, but, you know, everybody in that studio and everybody on the publishing side and the larger conglomerates all have opinions about what's going on.
Exactly.
Eventually, you have to distill it into who are the stakeholders who actually gets to decide this.
Okay, so I'm assuming, because with any creative art like that, it's like everybody's going to think their idea is really good, and at some point you just got to draw the line and make a decision.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Music's another fun one because you know, people think they're being novel, but it's just whatever their favorite song is, they want to hear in a game, you know, regardless of if it fits the mood or the, you know, genre wise or anything. The constant request for somebody's favorite band to be in the game. I mean, it never ever stops. But it's hilarious to me that it's just kind of, it's not as focused a view. It's just you're just not thinking about the broad view of what does this mean in the bigger
context. All right, so that's a great segue, because that's it for this episode, but we will have the next parts for you week after week after week. Don't even worry about it. They're going to be on time every week with no delay. We had to cut it here though, because again, the goal of this channel is to teach, and part of the educating process is making sure you don't overload people with new ideas and new information too much. We don't want to overwhelm you with too much information at one time. I really want you to be able to learn what's being taught. So we got these short little 15-minute intervals. We do the quiz. That way you can process the information and hopefully think on it. And then by the time the next video is out, then you're ready to add to what you've learned in the previous video. Okay, that's why we do this, y'all. To respect people's time, and education requires that you give it to people in small enough chunks that they can handle. All right, now let's take the quiz. Okay, that's it. Time's up. Quiz over. Pencils down. How did y'all do? All right, so hopefully this quiz was not too difficult and y'all learned a lot during the video, and so it was easy to answer the questions on the quiz. We will have part 2 coming up for you real soon. It'll be up next week. Don't even worry about it. We got everything covered. Part 3 will be 1 week after that. Also, if you enjoyed the video, y'all know the deal. Go ahead and leave a like. If you enjoy this type of content, go ahead and subscribe. Tell all your friends, neighbors, countrymen, countrywomen, aliens, whoever, it does not matter. Let them know, hey, there's a new educational channel in town and it is focusing on education, teaching us about how things work in the gaming industry. Hopefully y'all learned a lot about sound design, and there's much more to come. And we'll see y'all next time. Appreciate the love and the support so far. Peace.